Oregon, Mr. Benz is recognized for his 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for the invitation to participate today in this important hearing. There's no doubt at all about the horrific consequences of the open door policy, open border policy. This is just one of them. One of the situations back in Oregon, where I am from, is the inability of local law enforcement, such as the sheriff's office, for example, within the county where one of the reservations might be located, for them to exercise power or authority over those on the reservation. And I'm pretty sure this is kind of what you were hinting at on page 3 of your testimony, where you say exploiting the myriad of jurisdictional issues is a challenge, and I agree. I called my brother, who used to be the county sheriff back in Oregon, in the county in which I live, big county. The one he was in was 10,000 square miles, and there's actually 2 reservations there, but they were not welcome to help on the reservations. The tribal police, you would think, would take care of the problem, but there's 2 issues there. One you've kind of alluded to. The numbers of tribal police is modest. I think the national average is about 1 tribal police person, actually it's 0.7 per 1,000, and nationwide it should be 3. And so they're too few. But the other problem that appears to be a challenge is keeping those people that do become tribal police officers working, keeping them employed. And there seems to be a lack of stability sometimes in tribal government that leads to those folks not sticking around. But perhaps you can address that issue. Have you a study or something that indicates how long tribal police officers remain employed? And I'm going to hope that you don't go back to money every time there's a problem. So tell me, is anything that I've said ring any bells of recognition? Let's start with the lack of recognition, perhaps by tribes, of other law enforcement agencies who are driving around, deputy sheriffs perhaps, or state police, and those folks not having appropriate jurisdictional authority to step in. Thus, the cartels see tribal reservations as opportunity locations because there's not enough law enforcement there. So comment on that first, if you could.
At your wishes, I will not mention funding.
Well, you mentioned the word. Last year, or the year before last, I think there was $700 million allocated to the tribes. I know it's not the $3 billion mentioned. Congress simply appropriated funds. Tribes should be allowed flexibility on how to utilize and invest those funds in their communities. It's not for DUI to now restrict how tribes use those funds. It says here, the bill's language, $772 million, almost 8, is designated for tribal government services such as public safety and justice. Where did that money go? As long as we're talking about funding.
It went to the tribes.
Okay, that was almost $1 billion, about $800 million. Did that do no good?
Well, every little bit does good, but...
wait, a little bit, $800 million. You spread it across the nation. How much did each tribe get?
I don't know exactly. I'd have to do the math. There's 198 facilities where we or the tribes provide
okay, well, did it help?
Of course it helps.
How much did it help?
As much as that amount can possibly help.
Let's go back, and maybe the simplest question would be, are you aware of the fact that certain tribes are not enthusiastic about allowing local law enforcement to enforce laws on reservations?
Yes.
And does this allow then less law enforcement activity than perhaps should be there?
Tribes are sovereign nations.
Well, let's stop there. Are you saying then that the tribes have made a decision to allow less law enforcement that could be the case by simply saying to those who are already there engaged in the law enforcement business to help? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying I don't know the specifics of the situation, but if it's a tribal law enforcement agency and they said you're not welcome, that would be the tribe making that decision. That certainly would not be the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
And I think you said that indeed is the case in different reservations across the nation where they're not welcoming in outside and already available law enforcement help because they don't want it. Is that correct?
That would be my assumption. I don't ask them why they choose not to do that. We encourage them to actually enter into MOUs and MOAs with the local law enforcement to where they can do cross-jurisdiction. Whether they choose to do it or not, that's up to the tribe.
It's up to them. Thank you. I yield back.